Hello, my name is Abraham. These are my teammates Diego, Camila, and Caitlin, and we're going to be presenting about informal sources of law.
So, what is informal law? Basically, it refers to writing costumes, norms, and rules that shape the behavior of disputes of state-essential legal systems. It encompasses informal justice systems like traditional, religious, or community-based in courts that provide access to justice where formal institutions fail, and also includes non-legal costumes like tipping up to the society or bringing legal informants. So the second slide, it's about the informal source of law. So basically, the informal source are rules and ideas that guide people's behavior and aren't written down or officially made by the government. But this include community customs, religious teachings, and moral beliefs, unlike formal laws like official rules or court's decision. Informal source influence more about people, about the community, accepts them and values them, but especially in areas like personal behavior and how people interact by themselves in their community. Okay, so an example of informal source of law will be how Muslims don't eat pork chops or any type of meat because they are not allowed in their religion. Or maybe like how Amish people live without most major electronics, and it's thrown up in the about how they can use them. So we're gonna talk next about the difference from formal law. It's created and enforced by the government, of course, and informal source are more like independently of state authority, and they influence the behavior and guide legal expectations through social and cultural means. Where areas formal like laws or are writing and codified, and the informal laws are long-standing practice that communities recognize and they do follow.
So another example is if Catholics and Christians are ruled or tend to follow the rules that are not stated in the Holy Bible. This is not a formal law, that rather one based more on beliefs and thoughts that constitutional rights and such. Non-state authority. A key feature of informal sources is that they do not originate from governmental or formal legal institutions. Non-state authority. A key feature of informal sources is that they do not originate from governmental or formal legal institutions. Their authority comes from social recognition and community adherence rather than official enforcement mechanisms. This allows informal sources to operate flexibility and to respond to local needs where formal law might be limited. For example, the Vatican serves a non-state authority for the Catholics and Christians. Cultural and social basis. Informal sources of law are deeply rooted in the shared values, beliefs, and practices of a society. They reflect the culture and social expectations of communities, guiding how people can interact and resolve disputes, and these sources ensure that legal norms align with social priorities and everyday life.
For the example, we have that Ramadan. Ramadan is the ninth and holiest month of the Islamic calendar, during which Muslims worldwide fast from dawn to sunset, abstain from other physical needs, and focus on spiritual devotion, prayer, and charity for a whole month. And it is just not in this Islamic region, it is worldwide. You will always see them and they will group together. Unwritten and uncodified. Most informal sources are unwritten and become binding through long-standing tradition. Enforcement does not rely on fines or imprisonment or monetary value, but rather on social consequences, such as community's approval or reputational impact. This form of social enforcement encourages compliance through collective sentence rather than legal coercion. A great example and simple example of this would be how in families of doctors, it is frowned upon whether its son does not become a doctor or does not become a dentist. There is no real consequence other than family not accepting you. Social enforcement. Customs are long established practices with a community that are recognized as binding rules. They often emerge in areas like resource sharing, land use, or even local business practices. Over time, repeated customs can gain legal significance and influence formal law. For example, communities sharing water or grazing rights may follow customs that become acknowledged in local legal decisions. Religion, morality, and community practices. Religious beliefs and principles can shape societal norms and influence laws, particularly regarding personal matters such as marriage, inheritance, and family obligations. Shared moral values also guide behavior and inform the interpretation of formal laws. Community practices such as informal dispute resolution and social responsibilities further shape how laws operate in daily life. A quick example of this would be how in the Indian culture, sometimes fathers not directly sell their daughters, but marry them into another community, and they are forced to respect that marriage decision. If not, they are usually frowned upon.
I'm going to talk about international lawmaking. Informal sources can also emerge in international areas, practices, norms, and precedents in diplomacy. In global arrangements can shape international law outside formal treaties and or conversations. These informal norms can help establish guidelines or a guide to negotiations. Relationship with formal law. Informal and formal sources of law can coexist, creating a dynamic legal system. Informal sources also influence and shape formal law by providing context, and it reflects on social values in religion as well, where the state may be unable to provide effective justice in formal systems, or it also may fill gaps, offering locally recognition ways of resolving disputes, and both ways working together to make the law more responsive to real life and needs. The evolution of informal sources. Informal sources can evolve in society, like it changes once in a while. Customs and moral beliefs and community practices adapt to new technologies, population shifts, and cultural transformations. This adaptability ensures that legal norms remain relevant and with contemporary social values. Advantages of informal sources. The informal sources are flexible, culturally sensitive, and often faster to adapt than normal law. They maintain a social order where formal systems and are weak and provide community-based ways to resolve disputes. They also reflect society's moral and ethical standards or beliefs.
Limitations of informal sources. Despite all their benefits, they can be pretty inconsistent. They can be influenced by local power dynamics or have a conflict with formal law. Enforcement depends on social pressure rather than legal authority, which may limit their effectiveness in most situations.
Here we have our review exercise. It's a little word search for you guys, and hope you guys had fun with the presentation. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and these are our references. Thank you very much for your attention, and that will be it from us today.
Spider.
Ya lo